With the inky fingers, constant writing of notes, and desperation for Agatha to go down the road, do you think Teen is an embodiment of the Darkhold?
Does the Darkhold only live on in Agatha's dreams and nightmares and visions and hallucinations as just like an expression of her guilt, kind of thematic implication, rather than something that physically exists in more?
Welcome back to the Breakroom. We know you have questions about Agatha All Along, and boy, do we have answers, or at least we're gonna try. Today we're taking more questions about Agatha live. I'm Evan, out of the producer hole today, and with me, of course, is Erik Voss.
Hello, everybody. Let's do this.
Woo! And Brandon Barrick.
Well, I certainly am an inconvenient man. Why not?
They're really worried about the climate over there, huh?
I'm very worried about it.
We wanted to hit some questions that we didn't get a chance to hit in the after show yesterday. If you didn't know, we've been doing the after shows live at 11 a.m. Pacific on Thursday mornings on Twitch and on YouTube, on the Breakroom YouTube. So come by, feel free to ask your questions, watch along live as you're preparing lunch, getting your workday started, doing whatever you're doing at 11 a.m. on Thursday.
Or you could be wrapping up your workday if you're
depending on where you are.
in a different part of the world.
That's true.
Or just starting it if you're one of the real frontliners.
Yeah. It's all, the possibilities are endless in this multiverse we live in.
No. Boo.
Anyways, one of the questions that we didn't get to yesterday is the Darkhold. We did talk a lot about kind of like where, what the series is doing, but I like some of the questions that were asked by users DeedBlue96. Could the Darkhold have a hold on Agatha herself in the sense of guilt or a similar quality? And in a slightly different vein, Strawberry Waffle asking, with the inky fingers, constant writing of notes, and desperation for Agatha to go down the road, do you think Teen is an embodiment of the Darkhold? There's a lot of interesting things here, right? Like the Darkhold is destroyed in every universe,
Right.
Allegedly.
According to Doctor Strange, former Sorcerer Supreme kicked out of the job due to misbehavior.
Yeah.
He claims that the Darkhold in every universe was destroyed by Wanda in the Multiverse of Madness. And now we have the situation, which it seems like Jack Schaefer and crew have used what happened in Multiverse of Madness as like a catalyst for the show, right? The death of Wanda undid the spell, and now, with no Darkhold, no Wanda, Agatha's able to break out, but the Witches Road still exists, so that's like a whole separate thing. But yeah, what is this death of the Darkhold mean now? Is that body, as you theorized, Erik, that we see in episode 1, is that actually just the Darkhold?
Yeah, or is this just like Agatha's mental projection of it? Like, does the Darkhold only live on in Agatha's dreams and nightmares and visions and hallucinations as just like an expression of her guilt, kind of thematic implication, rather than something that physically exists in more? I have to say, I hated that line in Multiverse.
Right, it's a lot.
Stop making these bold declarations for everything in the multiverse, because it just like deprives you of an opportunity to use it again in the future. We're not talking about like just a death. It's like a book that can be very powerful and used for interesting things, like that. I don't think I needed that at the end of Multiverse of Madness, that like the book was destroyed in every universe, like to fix everything. Why not just say like the current crisis has been solved, we're good. Right. I refuse to believe that the Darkhold is dead in every universe. I think that's just something that Doctor Strange said. And he doesn't know everything. This guy's not even Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah.
I want the Darkhold to still be used. It's at least, Jack Schaefer and her team clearly watched Multiverse of Madness. And are trying to hold themselves to that standard. But I want them to just ignore that line.
Right.
Yeah. And I think like to go back to the original question, right? Like the hold that this Darkhold might have on her might not be so much like mystical, but might just be like, the hold is that she just is missing and craving that power that she got from the Darkhold. And, if she's going on this journey of like kind of like discovering herself, and maybe she gets powers in a different way, if she does end up at the end of the line, we see the Darkhold and the Witches Road, we get the Darkhold back. Do you think she takes it then? And regardless if this teen is part of the Darkhold or not, like, do you think that she will be like, I still need this thing?
Yeah, I mean, when she got her powers, if she wants her powers back, does she need the Darkhold for those powers? I guess is a question. It seems like that's what they're saying. Now you have some disagreements, right, over when she actually acquired the Darkhold. Was it a recent acquisition versus did she get it back in Salem time?
Yeah, I've famously fought with John Costa about this a lot. Where what we learned in WandaVision was she was dealing with dark magic. Her coven, led by her mother, kind of turned against her. They started blasting her. To what end? We don't know. I don't know if they were trying to kill her. But they certainly were, had her tied to a stake and were blasting her with magic. And through that, she was able to absorb their magic and kill them, it appears. But at that point, I don't think she had the Darkhold necessarily. I think she was looking into, darker magic, kind of like Caecilius, right? Looking at the Book of Cagliostro and things like that. Looking into darker themes. And they didn't like the road that she was on, but that happens, and then she continues her journey and at some point gets the Darkhold. Because it sounds like the last person who had it before Wanda was possibly Rio. She got it from Rio or whatever, or they were working together to get it, and she betrays her at some point. But I don't like the idea that from 1600s, mid 1600s to 2024, Agatha Harkness had the Darkhold the whole time. The whole time?
Yeah.
You have to imagine every wizard worth their salt, witch and wizard, is coming after this thing.
Agreed. And we saw on the library card of the previous acquisitions that there were 7 to 9 other dates. Yeah. I forgot what the number was, but there were they listed other dates to just tell us that there were other people who had it. Now, we've been using the Gregorian calendar since, the Middle Ages, Charlemagne, right? I can't remember when they established the Gregorian calendar, but it suggested to me that Agatha has had the Darkhold for not 400 years, but probably at least 100 years. I was trying to carbon date that bassinet that she has. There's embroidery. It's a basket, which I was thinking, that could have been Robert Eggers' witch era, people who were, around the time of Salem. But look at that embroidery. Did you mean to tell me that the Salem colonists spent that much time embroidering just a baby blanket? That baby's going to outgrow it in 6 months.
They could have had it. It could have come over from England. They traded for it.
Maybe, but they were poor. They were religious refugees. I don't know if they would have. Anyway, I'm overthinking that.
The Dutch brought it when there's some fur trading going on. They're up in Manitoba having a good time.
I think it was 19th century. Okay. So I think that's when she met Rio Vidal. Would be when I said. But that would tell us that the powers that she had when the Salemites were blasting her, when Evanora was blasting her, had nothing to do with the Darkhold. Right. To go with your theory, Brandon. And so I think that to get her powers back, she doesn't need the Darkhold, but this is just a more recent thing she did to sully her reputation further with the witches. There's other things she's done, and there are other witches who have had it since the days of Cthon to when Agatha and or Rio had it.
I also like the idea, too, that maybe she got it at some point in the 1700s and lost it again because another witch or wizard showed up and bested her for it.
Yes. Do you mean all the other names? It's just Rio, Wanda, Rio.
It's popping back and forth, It's like a state championship, a rivalry popping around,
Yes.
I do like the idea, though, right? What does she need the Darkhold to get her magic? I mean, Short Stack asking, because Agatha stole magic from others, will the road give her that stolen magic back, or the magic she originally had?
Just her own.
Just her own, right? And it does beg the question, what is the future of this character, right? Because, at the end of the road, she could decide she wants the Darkhold. She stays a villain, right? We go on this whole journey with her, but she decides to stay or commit to now being a villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as opposed to, an alternate viewing of it, which is to be I have magic now, but now I have a coven. I didn't steal from other people, even though I went too far before, now I've got all these people that can support me, and, I have this power that comes from something else. Very interesting to see what they'll do, and that would then maybe, free her up to be a more good aligned character.
Yeah, I mean that's the big question. What is the end game for Wanda here, or for Agatha here? Yeah. And do you want Agatha to be more of a protagonist or more of an antagonist? I feel like Loki, they have fully washed him clean. He's been reborn a capital H hero, right? And he earned it. And we liked it, and we were happy with that. But we've had so little of Agatha. She's only been in one series where she was the main antagonist, and now it's are we ready for her to be a protagonist? I mean, I would love if the final episode, you know, let's say they reveal the teen to be a reincarnation of her own son.
Yeah.
You know, and she's gone on this long journey with him, and she's gotten close to him. But when presented with the Darkhold again, she goes, "I choose Darkhold." And it's like an utter betrayal. And like,
wow, that's a real Johnny Bananas move.
that's a
right
Johnny
there.
Bananas
I'll take the million,
challenge.
Teach.
You know, kids
Wow.
come and go, but the Darkhold, that lasts forever.
Yeah, you know,
and she chooses that, and she goes on to continue to be evil. And maybe
Yeah.
some of these other characters stay as new heroes to the MCU. But like, let her be evil, especially if you're gonna make. If the Scarlet Witch is gonna be nice and good and a hero, then we need a villain that can match her. And I would love for it to be Agatha.
Yeah, I mean, and also kind of off that, Kobe-Wan Kenobi in the chat saying, Agatha was able to turn the Darkhold into a child in the comics right now. Do you think it's possible that Teen or some new character could be a form of the Darkhold but now human, or have the power of the Darkhold inside of them? Or maybe if Agatha is able to find the Darkhold again, she can turn it human to bring her son back in the form of a human Darkhold, right? Like, to your point, like, I love combining these two ideas. If she is like, you have the Darkhold, or you have your, like, or you can keep the Darkhold in this son, like, what sacrifice will she make, if any? Yeah.
Ooh,
very interesting.
Interesting thought.
Yeah.
I mean, can we bring up the asset of the Darkhold again? It has a fascinating design to it, where, look at the top of it. Normally, the Darkhold was rotated upside down when we saw it in WandaVision. And the top of it, those are like drips. Those are like, if you imagine like fire after you put water on it, sometimes the ash can just kind of drip frozen in place, or like lava when it freezes in place. It seems like there was some kind of fluid that hardened, and that fluid could just be the blood of the sacrifices that each of the Attainer had to make in order to gain it. And maybe that's just part of the rules of the Darkhold, is that requires some blood sacrifice in order for you to have it. Maybe what they're gonna say in this show is that, like, if they do affirm Doctor Strange's line in Multiverse of Madness that it was destroyed in every universe, anybody who was sacrificed in order to gain it by a past possessor was freed. Those souls were freed.
Yeah.
And maybe one of those was Nicholas Scratch, and then that coincided with something Teen was doing and attached to Teen. So I think Teen's going to be Billy Kaplan, but maybe that could be another way that Nicholas Scratch's soul could have bonded, is it just found someone when the Darkhold was destroyed. And that's why when Wanda sees him, that there's some kind of Darkhold connection with Teen.
Yeah.
But really it's Nicholas Scratch, and she's and then maybe the Darkhold can be reassembled by like those souls being trapped in it again. But I like your idea that I want Agatha to be a villain on this show.
Yeah.
And right now it seems like they're kind of skirting this line of making her just kind of like petty, kind of mean.
Yes.
But she's not clearly the villain, because we don't know who clearly the hero of the story is. It could be Teen. It could be the Coven collectively. But Agatha's kind of in this nebulous place.
Yeah.
Whereas what I liking about Penguin, not to bring Penguin in the conversation, but just like
Happy Penguin Friday, everybody.
Happy Penguin
I mean, it doesn't
Friday.
come out until Sunday, but Happy
Yeah.
Penguin Friday.
But episode 1 so far, it's not afraid to make him still a bad person. And it's like a Tony Soprano figure. He is not a good guy, and I want Agatha to do something really awful on this show to remind us that she's the villain. I don't know if they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I think if you make Agatha a hero by the end of this, that to me feigns that you're gonna push Wanda towards like being more of the villain.
Yeah.
Because I think you have to have one of these two characters as like a hero villain.
Yeah,
I think so. At least for like how the MCU stands right now, right? Like if they were to start introducing more like characters that felt like truly neutral, right?
Yeah.
Like to use like an alignment chart, like neutral evil, neutral good. That would be interesting. It does feel like Wanda treads that territory, but like after Multiverse Madness, I don't know, and who knows what's happening in the future? Lots of rumors, lots of ideas. Yeah. Kind of in the vein of Agatha and her son, Stuart Patterson on YouTube was asking yesterday, saying yesterday, I think Agatha's clearly tormented over the loss of her son, and it was a protection spell gone wrong, and not what we are led to believe. Does seem like they're playing a little bit right with like what is Agatha's legacy. I think there's a great line, I think in one of the trailers, where she's like, I let them believe what they believe, or something along those lines, right? Like, what lengths do we think Agatha has truly gone to like get power, and like how much do you think she's hiding in this form, and to either keep her reputation upheld or like for some other reason?
I think if that was the case, then she would be more defensive when we were in Jennifer Kale's shop in episode 2.
Okay.
Jennifer Kale says, "Who's this? Another child sacrifice?" And Wanda reacted, or Agatha, sorry, I keep saying the wrong one. Agatha reacted in a way that indicated that she knew exactly what she was talking about, but just felt guilty. And I think the guilt is what Catherine Hahn is playing, that she knows what she did when she reacted to the Darkhold being in the basket. I think that was guilt. And I think that's why she was like afraid to talk about this. If it was something that was like she was trying to protect her kid and it just went wrong, I guess you could say the guilt was over just trying to use
not being
magic,
strong enough,
not being strong enough.
Yeah.
But I think for other people to have this reputation that they're peddling about her, I think she would be angrier about that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good read on it. I like the idea of like feeling very guilty because there's definitely something at play there with like, what did she do to do this? And I think it is fun to keep it like a straightforward answer that's like, yeah, she sacrificed herself to the Darkhold because she was like, I want the Darkhold more, like you were saying earlier, you know, she just commits to being a villain.
Yeah. I do think that there is some like legend telling going on, and she's not going to correct people when they think she's more powerful than maybe she was at the time. Because I do think like her killing her mother and the coven then was accidental. I don't think she intended to do all that.
Yeah.
I think it just kind of it started happening, and it was like a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Things
like,
got crazy.
Them,
We had some mead right before this all popped off. I hadn't had breakfast. Mead on an empty stomach. Dude, you're gonna do crazy things.
So, but I don't know. I think
so because I think we talked about this yesterday a little. The idea that like when she made this, whatever she had to do to get the Darkhold, in a monkey's paw way, she didn't realize she would lose her son like that. Maybe she thought it was like, oh, my son wouldn't have magic, or something else would change, or maybe she thought like I can make this deal and get my son away before anything bad happens. But the way it all happened, it was kind of a surprise, and it was like, well, what's done is done. I can't undo it. So yeah, I sacrificed my son on purpose. Sure.
See, my read on the WandaVision episode 7 prologue scene was that it was all a trick by Agatha in that moment. She was playing this like falsely accused witch, and she was saying, "No, I didn't understand the rules. I didn't break your rules. They simply bent to my power." And you saw a turn in her, and that's what led to Evanora be like, "No, okay, we have to stop her." And then there was something like a bit surprising to her, but it felt like the power was like flowing into her. And then she kills the rest of the Salemites and then has a one-on-one with her mom. And I think what she liked about that is the mom had this like blue tiara and she wanted the crown. And I think like it didn't feel like it was an accidental overpowering by herself. It felt like she knew that this was possible, that she could gain even more power by like she flipped the switch now of like when a witch tries to kill her, she takes their powers. And most witches, that's not the case. Most witches, when you blast them, you drain them, you win. But she read some rune. And
I wonder if that turn too is like, you know, a little the One Ring in Lord of the Rings, right?
What about it?
Just, you know, makes them feel like a little obsessive, a little like I need to keep this thing.
Just dark magic in general kind of like feels. I mean, it's.
Like, I really wanted to try to get to Happy Rings of Power Friday, but we didn't quite get there.
Happy Rings of Power Friday.
Happy Rings of Power Friday.
Happy Rings of
everyone.
Power Friday.
Are you still watching Rings of Power? What are you liking about
What
it?
do you like about it?
I think it's a well-made show. I like that we had a nighttime episode and you could see everything. That's nice. You don't get that on every high fantasy show.
You don't
harder
get that
and
a
harder
lot.
these days. Yeah, someone in the chat was just asking if we're talking about it today. We are not, unfortunately, but maybe
not
soon.
today.
Before we get to more questions from yesterday and some of your questions from today, just want to remind you to check out nerdriot.shop. There's a lot of cool Agatha designs on there right now. You can see some of them. We got notebooks, we got mouse pads, we got this heavy metal Mephisto t-shirt. Brandon's wearing one of the shirts right now.
The Witches Road.
The Witches Road. Look at it. I'm wearing this old Spider-Man shirt that from maybe when I first started working here that I love.
Yeah,
I really do like it.
Multiverse dive, and then we have a Coruscant baseball tee.
Yeah.
Woo!
That's spelled Coruscant right, so I like it.
Yeah. Coruscant.
Well, we have like a Kashyyyk one,
Yeah,
and I got an
there was
old
too many
print of
Ys.
it, and I like the way it
Not enough
feels,
Ys.
but I can't walk around places with it.
Yeah.
People can wear that at Galaxy's Edge. Someone's gonna beat me up.
a Wookiee is gonna come and be like, "That's not how you spell it."
Dude, Ray will come around the corner and just baton you right to the nuts.
Okay, a lot of people asking questions about the Witches Road itself and a very specific line in the ballad. Like Graveyard Pod out at night asking, will a coven member die per trial? Until Agatha realizes she needed them, and all of this is her trial. They will be alive by the end. Lots of people highlighting the line, like GSU Eagle saying, if one be gone, we carry on spirit as our guide. People yesterday in the chat, lots of people asking, like Shri, I think, saying, do you think Sharon will come back, haunt the coven for the rest of the road? Do you think if more coven members die, do you think they'll all come back as spirits to help, push this group down the road? And like, and maybe Agatha knows that there's something like about like how many of them need to die, how many need to survive, because she's walked the road before, so she knows how this all works. Kind of.
I hope they come back. I don't think one will die every episode because I'm just trying to do the math of like what we've seen from trailer footage. We know that we have like a recording studio trial.
Yeah.
We know we have a
attic
sleepover. Like a sleepover with like board games trial.
There's like a Wizard of Oz thing at some point.
Now the Wizard of Oz one, I think there's only like 3 of them in there.
Yeah.
Like you see Jen, you see Agatha, and you see Lillia, and I don't know if you see Alice, but Alice is definitely there in the sleepover one. Rio is in the recording studio one. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything from trailer footage, but I think most of them will survive future ones, but maybe not all of them will survive.
If not die, like get trapped or something, or like swallowed in by the road.
Yeah, there's any number
like
of things.
that.
I hope some of them come back through ghost form, though. That
would
would be great
really
to just
cool.
because that is something in the Witches Road. I believe Agatha's ghost accompanies Wanda in the comics, and that if they are playing into an escape room feel for this show, aren't there like games or like werewolf or mafia where like someone can be a ghost? People are just hanging out in the party. Who just like gasp in the background when they see people's heads go up, like that kind of thing. Like it'd be fun to have some of the deceased.
And I want the road to have like stakes. So feeling like if Mrs. Davis / Hart is like really dead, like do it. Like make it feel like heavy. Like and it's Wanda's fault she was Wanda. It's Agatha's fault she was down there in the first place. Agatha falsely brought her down.
Well, that's a great question too. A lot of people asking, like Bumming with Bo, if Agatha's traveled the world before, did she know she was gonna lose someone? She knew that Sharon was gonna be the sacrifice for her. Do you think that was purposeful in that regard, like knowing that she could lose, she needed to lose one person,
right?
And that it could be someone who is like could be a witch, but is also like they don't need the skills.
I read that whole thing as like her panicking because Rio was supposed to be the one on the road.
Yes, me too.
And she was just like, she grabbed the first warm body she could find across the street. Because I read this whole thing as like Agatha has not walked the road before and doesn't really know what's going on. And like all of that was a lie.
Do you think the road? I mean, we know physically what happened is they didn't get Sharon's hair in the brew, and so even though but it's interesting that the road still opened the oven.
Yeah,
like it worked well enough that they could escape that house, but not well enough that she survived. So maybe that was just like a technicality, and that's so the road.
Yeah, because I guess that trial was mostly for Jennifer, and like she made the potion, and it saved the people who were in the potion.
I guess if not all their hair made it in. Then any number of them could have died. Because I was wondering maybe the road rejected Sharon from the first trial because she's not like a proper green witch.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they did try
enough,
to like suck her in, right? We don't know. Again, we mentioned this yesterday. We don't know if it's because she walked off the path, but like that could have been an early rejection of like, hey, get out of here.
They're like, you're not really a green witch, and it seems like the green witch is the most important of all the witches.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so that's not the one you want to like. Oh, it's witchy. This is just. Yeah, a friend from home who I dragged along. You need to get your most qualified of the witches needs to be the green category.
Yeah, I mean, in that same vein, like Ryan Painter and Night for Celine asking, like, how does Rio get to the Witches Road, right? We've seen from a lot of trailer footage that Rio just kind of like sprouts up from the ground. Night for Celine suggesting that maybe they bury, Mrs. Hart and she pops out that way. They need a corpse. I don't know. Brandon, what do you think?
That seems the most plausible way to me.
Yeah.
It's like her kind of coming through. And if she was there as a replacement for Rio, if there's some magic way that Rio can like swap places with her, it was like if they do bury her and like the body switches underground, it does feel a little bit like Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange coming into his own body in a different multiverse.
Yeah.
But I think Rio just like busts in, right? Because she's That's the other.
She seems really powerful, right?
It was like the teen was trying to get Wanda out of the hex, but
Yeah.
also Rio was there, and it seemed like Rio was trying to get Wanda out, and Rio's the one that like ultimately does it, even though the teen says, "I did the incantation," which he did.
Seems like you needed both halves of it, right?
Yeah.
It's like maybe Rio didn't want to challenge the spell, but Teen is obviously he doesn't know what he's even messing with, right? Where Rio was trying to like have it happen more internally than like just disenchant.
And like to make a comparison to Loki, right? He Who Remains created the TVA to keep the 616 secret from every other Kang and every other universe. That seems like Wanda's spell and the Darkhold was keeping Agatha secret from like all the other witches who could sense her. And as soon as Wanda dies and the Darkhold's gone, now like Rio can see her, and I guess the teen can maybe see her too. Because I do think we're gonna get a flashback that shows like the teen researching Agatha, looking into Agatha. What we don't know what was drawing the teen to Agatha at all. Was the teen just like interested in magic and was like, well, this is the most famous witch, I gotta learn more about her?
Yeah.
Or it was like the teen feeling a pull from
wherever.
From something, from the Darkhold, from Nicholas Scratch's soul, from Mrs. Hart's cooking. I don't know. Something like that.
Or from Mephisto.
Oh, no.
Well-rounded mom asking, has anyone else noticed how Teen looks a lot like a young Sacha Baron Cohen? Could he be some sort of embodiment for Mephisto? I think other people are asking similar questions in the chat as well. Yeah. I don't think he looks that much like Sacha Baron Cohen.
I don't think he does either.
But maybe a little, you know?
He is a thin, fairly tall, dark-haired English actor doing an American accent.
Yes.
So in that regard, he checks the boxes. Yeah, I think we talked about that when the first promo came out with the logo on his mouth. I'm like, are they doing it?
Yeah,
are they doing Mephisto
it's very
here?
M looking.
Yeah.
And maybe are they trying to establish a young Sacha Baron Cohen? I mean, look, if Sacha Baron Cohen is playing Mephisto, that's happening in the present day of the MCU. So they'd have to come up with some backstory of like Mephisto is a kid, is possessing a kid's body, and that kid ages through the normal human life cycle to become an adult at some point. So I think Mephisto does take different forms, but like it'd be a new thing to establish that Mephisto takes a form that ages in different points in their life. Mephisto did play a young girl in the One More Day storyline, so they've taken the form of a kid before. I don't think that'll be the case. I think this kid's just like they've already established too many. Whoa, we just got over.
Whoa,
it's showing up on the stream too.
I hope Mephisto is Rio.
And like, Rio? Yeah.
He's taken the form of Rio just to mess with Agatha. And it's revealed like Mephisto's like, I killed Rio years ago.
That's true, because like, I mean, not to, do the like whole Aubrey Plaza thing, but like even in Legion, she wasn't really even like that character. It was like Shadow King taking the form of a woman for Legion to like understand.
I will say on the official Marvel podcast this week, they had some interview clips from Aubrey Plaza talking about like how excited she was to join the MCU, how much she loved WandaVision. This was the perfect role for her because she thinks her mom's a witch. She's from like the New England area.
Yeah.
She's a witch. All that stuff. Like I think she's very excited to be in the MCU as this character, and I hope that like she gets to continue on. She's doing a great job so far.
Yeah.
And I think they will probably kill off a couple of these witches in the show, but I hope a lot of them get to stick around and we get to like kind of buff out the magic core of the MCU beyond just like whatever happening at Comertage.
Yeah.
They're lame. Who cares about Comertage anymore?
And also, there's so many people.
There's so many people. They have at least 3 campuses. Like, guys, calm down. You have to do Eldritch Magic their way. They don't let you check out every book from the library. It's BS, guys.
Yeah. You think they do study abroad in their last semester at school? They get to go to one of the other satellite campuses?
Oh, you get to I bet you do. I bet you do.
Yeah, for 1 year you get to choose, and everyone's like, we really want to go to New York. You're like, nope, you get stuck in London or whatever it is.
And they're like, I was roommates with John the day that Wanda showed up, and it was crazy. She came out of a mirror in our dorm room and she killed John. It was crazy. It was crazy.
You should have been there.
And then they let this new girl join. Her name's America, and she wears this jacket everywhere. It's weird.
Why does she get to wear the jacket?
Why does she get to wear the jacket?
We always have these clothes.
I had to sit outside for like 2 days before they let me join.
I have a huge crush on Rintra. Rintra, I think I'm gonna give Rintra my sling ring.
Audible? You know what I mean?
Giving someone your sling ring is the convertage equivalent of going steady.
He wears my sling ring around his neck.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
No one has their own sling rings.
Yeah,
they all have other people's sling rings.
You gotta check it out. You have to check it out online.
Yeah.
You get like a school-issued sling ring.
Yeah, there it is.
They're like, who put these carvings on his sling ring?
Yeah.
Who carved the weird S onto my sling ring?
I really like this comment from Rosso Games yesterday. Are we seeing any parallels to Dante's Inferno with, the Witches Road? It does feel like that's a very fun analogy to pull from. Specifically, they're saying that wine at dinner with the hearts. His heart is the one who wills in the wine, maybe a form of glutton. Is the riddle sort of insinuated? It does, yeah. I think it's a fun, it's very easy to map that onto this for sure. And I don't know if it'll fully go like 7 deadly sins and things like that, but it does seem, I think it's possible.
I think anytime you have a story that's kind of like an archetypal story through an underworld, a journey through an underworld, definitely Dante's Inferno, either intentionally or unintentionally, is an archetype that's influencing it, along with the story of Orpheus and Eurydice through the underworld in Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Now, what made Dante's Inferno specific is that it was a journey through hell with Virgil and Dante, and each ring of hell was you're seeing how people on that tier were being punished for a specific type of sin. So it wasn't mapped on the 7 deadly sins, was it? I think there was just other
There's
sins.
different rings of hell of where you go at, depending on your sins.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was some overlap for sure. But I think specifically, the drinking of the wine, I don't know if gluttony would be there because
it's not like, it's like that would, more.
It just gets a little lost.
Yeah.
And then we'll see in the other, like the recording studio, I guess maybe could be vanity or pride or something like that.
They didn't even really, like Dante and Virgil, they didn't have like trials. It was more like
It wasn't about
trials.
trials.
It was like a tour.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Because the trials feel more, like Jason and the Argonauts or like the Odyssey, right? Like you have to kind of make this journey and you're going to make these sacrifices and you have to learn and adapt.
Yeah, what's it
Not
called?
everyone's going to come home.
The Trials of Hercules, too.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Where
yeah.
they're the different
Get the
beasts
golden
and things.
fleece.
Yeah.
Kind of like Percy Jackson.
Oh, boy.
A totally original story, not based off any of those.
Oh, boy.
I really like this comment from HBasso13 because it's my favorite corner of the MCU. Was Teen snapped or blipped, do you think?
Oh, boy. Oh, no.
Do we see that in his flashback episode?
Was Rio snapped? It was Lillia snapped.
Who was snapped, who was blipped? All right, ready? Let's go. Round table.
The
Here we
biggest
go.
mistake the MCU
No,
ever made.
I love it. If I could have
Okay.
10 episode anthology series that has nothing to do with superheroes, it's just people talking about how they deal with a blip.
Yeah, blip fiction.
I
Just
love
like
it.
that
I
would
love it
be
so much.
good. Yeah,
Love it
I mean, is
so
it
much.
possible the team,
Uh-huh.
let's say he's Billy Kaplan from Eastview, he
Sure.
gets snapped,
Yeah.
and when he comes back, when he gets blipped back, he has Nicholas Scratch attached to him then. Like, that's how he got attached. Like, they got merged.
Yeah. Interesting.
Hulk fucked up when he made the snap. He was like, everybody comes back, nobody's different. Also, it's 2 kids, bond them together.
If there's
He's like, I shouldn't have thought that.
2 kids who feel a little bit lost,
Yeah.
they're coming back.
They come back. Also, put a little sigil on his mouth so witches can't hear. I just read about that the other day. Tony, don't worry about it.
I just want to experiment. I
wanna
just want
experiment.
to see. I just want to see.
Another thing, 2.5% of the population, could you give them mutations and they're mutants?
Yeah.
There wasn't no mutants
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
now there's mutants.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in this whole gene stuff. I don't know.
And I was just thinking, whatever happened to that guy, Mr. Blue, who was helping me out? I'd like to see him again.
Yeah. Oh wait, also I watch these shows on Netflix. They were real great. And Charlie Cox played Daredevil, and he's real good. D'Onofrio, but we don't need Finn Jones on. Leave him out of it. The rest of them, they are here now. I want to hang out with them.
The list of Hulk's changes is honestly like a really stupid.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. seasons 1, 4, 6, and 7. But that's it. Not the Darkhold episodes, but the Ghost Rider episodes were good.
There's this kid in Chicago. His mom's being really mean to him. Do something with that guy.
I don't think the team was blipped.
Team not blipped.
That's what you get for asking.
Yeah, Lillia not blipped because she saw it coming and she was like, whoop.
What,
she
and
traded
also,
places with someone at the mall.
if Teen was blipped, he would have had to have been what, like 10?
Yeah.
It's 2018 and the blip happened, so it's 20.
It could have been any
It's
age.
2026 now.
Yeah.
Right? And he's 16.
Yeah.
And
So he would have been 8 or right or. Dude, this is crazy because like on this show I can't do math. People are always like, Evan can't do math. I'm like,
that's tough.
yeah.
He
not
has 8 different tabs open,
yeah.
and he's controlling
Yeah.
all of them like a master puppeteer.
could have been
You can't
blipped
expect
as a
him to
kid.
do math on top of that.
He could have been blipped as a kid.
I can't do the
Doesn't
math right
matter.
now. I'm trying so hard to think of the math. Normally I'm good at it.
Super Ultra Nova and Ryan Painter saying he was 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
You
If
nailed it.
he was.
Well, depending on what month he was born and the month of the
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Will you say 8 years old he gets snapped?
Yeah.
Well, they have to be older because when he got snapped, he comes back and he's still that age. And then
Oh, that's true.
add
So that's
5
Yes.
more years
Yes,
onto
that's
it.
right. He stays the same.
I don't know.
I think no one else gets to have been blipped. At this point,
Yeah.
Marvel, you done fucked up. Like, you had your chance to have a
They
great
thought they were out, baby. They were like,
know.
in game, we wrap this up, we move on to a new IP.
Unless they say that they had this freakish thing happen to them, then nope, they were not blipped.
They were like, we're really hedging our bets on this Willow thing.
Is that something Hulk said as well?
Yeah, sure.
Willow. No.
Give it
Willow.
one season. Let's see.
Tony was like, only one season for Willow. Nothing else changes.
Yeah.
I want Morgan
Nothing.
back and just one season of Willow.
Let's see. Yeah. Lillia not blipped, you said?
Lillia not blipped. Rio not blipped.
Jennifer
Jennifer
blipped.
definitely blipped. Alice definitely
Definitely blipped. Because she can't get a job.
Yeah.
Dottie. and
Well, we don't
Mrs.
know because that would everyone in Westview that happened before Wanda showed up. So
Okay.
they could have been blipped or not blipped. It's tough to say.
Yeah, they looked. Here's the deal. I think everyone in Westview who we met were people who survived the blip because, man, their town looked like shit when Wanda drove
Yeah.
up into it to look for
Oh,
Vision's
yeah, it
bottle
was
line.
really-
Like, Dennis was like, what is my life?
I've been delivering
Yeah.
the same pizza for 5 days.
If he had just been freshly blipped back into reality, he'd be like with a skip and a step. He'd be like, I'm feeling young and fit. Everyone else is older than me, but I'm alive again. The way Peter Parker did when he came back. He's like, this is great. I get to have a life.
My Roth our IRA advanced a lot.
Yeah.
I checked the balance at Fidelity. It's inflated.
Do you think the Fidelity would have like just cashed it out though? You think they would just give it
I
out?
think that these are, if we want to get into blip questions, dog, like year 2, the government is like seizing assets,
Yes.
spreading them back around.
Yeah.
They're like, these guys aren't, nothing's
Because
changing.
no one out there, there's no Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
No one went to the world governments and was like, we can fix it. We there's this thing,
Yeah.
5 years from now we're gonna do a time heist. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy, but we need to wait. We need to wait 5 years from now.
Maybe part of the time heist was at one point someone goes to like 2018.
Steve Rogers goes back. It's
Yeah.
on his trip. He had to be like, don't seize any of the assets.
He stops saying to the president, he's like, look, I'm going to tell you this. Things are going to be bad for like 5 years. But
Yeah.
I'm fixing it right now, but you won't know that until 5 years.
And you can't let anybody
You can't
know.
let anybody
You have to act like it will all turn around.
You can't let anybody know.
Yeah.
Don't you think someone would have sued? They said, look, because
yeah.
Mr. Harrington's wife was like, he thought she was blipped,
Yeah.
but she was just missing.
Yeah.
It would have been like a leftover scenario.
I mean, the insurance industry, life insurance industry would have collapsed immediately. Like, no payouts, no nothing, right? Not, and like general insurance, like in Florida, you can barely get housing insurance now because of just the threat of hurricanes.
Yeah.
Let alone like, half the population disappeared and economies collapsed and countries are in chaos. Like, we're not paying out insurance claims.
I have to assume, as of the Battle of New York, all these life insurance policies
yeah.
just dropped because there's just no way when you can have Avenger level crises happening on the planet. We're not insuring.
Ooh, you think they made alien insurance? Alien invasion insurance?
Oh, they should have.
Yeah.
That's good.
You're calling like State Farm. You're like, I see Arishem in the sky. I'm cashing in, baby. There's a giant. What do you mean that's not an alien? Creator of the multiverse. I don't know what the fuck that is.
You think that's not covered under the plan?
So I'm paying $500 a month, and you're telling me we're in a multiverse?
Well, sir, what I'm saying is that the eternal the celestial that hatched out of our planet is technically not an alien. He was he was gestating in our planet.
Whoa, Jake, run it back. What's inside the planet?
Like we got. If I'm Jake now, I'm doing girls. Yeah, we got a celestial. That's
Whoa, Jake, you can't say that word.
But I can't say Celestial.
No, I don't think so.
You can't cancel Jake from State Farm.
I'll cancel you, buddy.
I'd like to see you try.
I gotta go. There's a guy with a skull spray painted on his shirt shooting cops in the street. I gotta go.
I want to keep talking.
All right.
All right, so we're getting a lot of questions about Rio Vidal and her kind of like identity. Brandon, what do you think?
Rio Vidal is a witch, a green witch.
A green witch.
There's certainly more to her character and like whatever relationship she has had with Agatha.
Yeah.
I do think that together they were after the Darkhold at some point. Because, she has that line, you took the Darkhold from me. But I think they were working together for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe intimately. We don't know.
We don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they have a closeness about them. A bond between them. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting if by the end of this series their paths are still aligned, or if they're going in separate paths. Because I don't necessarily read Rio as the antagonist.
Yeah. And then it is tough to, like, lots of people asking where we see these characters, like, appear in the future. I do feel like the next time we see any of these characters, it could be, like, a Red Skull in Endgame type of cameo. Or Infinity War type of cameo, right? Like, level of, like, they are this consulting magic force that you can go to about and as advice for a question, like 1-2 scenes max. I think depending on how the series ends, it's like, will it be Rio that we see later on? Will it be Agatha probably just from a business perspective, yes, but what will that role be and how will it be entangled with whatever Rio's identity is going to be? Very interesting. I have no real answers, just a lot of hopes.
Well, because we've been talking about like building out the magic character gallery of the MCU. And they've done that a lot during the Multiverse saga, right? The Infinity Saga, yes, they introduced Doctor Strange and Wanda and some magic elements. But even Wanda's magic started as like Infinity Stone gamma radiation power. But that was all like the Infinity Saga was very practical in a lot of its means. You have like super soldier serum and stuff like that, but it's like Iron Man building suits. You have Thor and that magic, but it's more like they're alien gods, like they have like their technology is magic, blah, blah, blah. And then, all those events. The Multiverse Saga has been a lot of like, here's a ton more magic, right? There's Talo and everything that like Shang-Chi brings to the table. Here's Wanda and Agatha and like all these other witches, like, and like even Khonshu and Moon Knight, like that's kind of magic, right? It's gods giving these nebulous powers that are sometimes tied to objects, but even those objects are like enchanted in a way, right? So a lot more magic and old scrolls and tomes and things like that. So I think it's going to be very important for Secret Wars, whatever that is, because even bringing in Doctor Doom now is a mix of science and magic in like a very heavy way. So magic's going to be very, very important. And if they are building up the Scarlet Witch to be a big force in Secret Wars, whether positive or negative, it's important that they've built up all these other magic characters. So I think you're right that like that final battle, if they have to take on Wanda or something, it's like, here's Rio, here's Lillia, here's Mrs. Hart back from the dead, being puppeted by Doctor Strange, because he got a taste of getting in dead bodies and he can't stop now.
Oh no!
All right, just around.
He's like, I can work from home. Just remote into these bodies.
He like cozies up in the Sanctum Sanctorum. He's like, all right, here we go.
He's like, let's check out the obits today. Cremation? That's no good. Can't do that one.
All right.
Donated to science? No, thank you.
But then the body he's puppeting also forgets to put on pants that day. And they're like, you have to do it.
Can he puppet a body that's been prepared for burial? Because they just put that dead Doctor Strange in the flower bed. It still had all its organs and stuff. If you have a body that's been stripped, stuffed up with sawdust, had all the blood removed, all that, ready for burial, could he puppet into that? Or is it a ship of Theseus? It's not enough of the original body anymore.
I think if you're possessing
it doesn't have eyes, they took the eyes out?
Yeah, but you're controlling if they take the eyes out, you can use what's there, right? So the muscles are what
because he was able to talk as Dead Strange.
But would his vocal cords have eroded at that
point?
He had a little could his lungs trap air in them in order to propel sound through the trachea?
All right, if you work at a mortuary, drop a comment in the chat. Okay.
Listen, if you're going to handle my body when I die, give it 2 days to see if Doctor Strange pops
comes
in.
Up. Yeah.
If not, he doesn't need me after that, and you can strip me for parts.
Okay, to round it up here, I really like this question from GSU Eagle. Do we think each universe has their own Witches Road, or is this like a single correspondence for every multiverse?
Oh, baby.
Our brains can't handle it. Just
Yeah.
make it one Witches Road for all the multiverse.
I like the idea. This is where I was starting to think after Multiverse of Madness, right? They talk about dream walking or whatever.
Yeah.
And that the dream walking causes incursions, right? Because it's because of the fuckery that's going around.
Yeah.
Dream walking takes dark magic. Dark magic exists dimensionally in between universes, right? It fills it. If universes are like strands of spaghetti and water, dark magic's the water, right? It exists all through them. And so when you're dream walking, if these are two universes, you're using up this dark energy between them, and they're coming together, and eventually they cross paths, right? So I think yes, the Witches Road exists in a dimension that's in between all universes, and it takes whatever shape you need. So if you're an alien witch and you go on the Witches Road, you don't see like a cute little house and all that. Whatever fits your brain space.
Yep.
Yeah.
One Witches Road.
One Witches Road.
And I think that's the same for like all realms that don't look like a universe, right? So like something like the ancestral plane,
Sure.
Yeah.
or the Duat, or Limbo, that rocket,
Wherever
slipped down into.
eternity was in the watery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
the quantum realm, the gap junction.
One Witches Road.
Just one road. For
Is
all
there
of
one
us to
Pizza
walk.
Papa? Does he only exist in one universe?
He knows. I mean, but that actor knows.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he said it will all be answered.
we'll finally get
It will
answers.
finally
Bruce
be.
Campbell?
Bruce
Yeah,
Campbell knows. It will all be revealed.
Let's get him on the
He
show.
said Pizza Papa was the most important character of the MCU.
Okay.
Quick, Pizza Papa! I need you to distract Kang.
Pizza Papa always gets paid. Brian Painter asking how it's Fleshy Friday, right? How fleshy is this Agatha episode? How fleshy is this series? I think I'm pleasantly surprised by how much to chew on there is.
It's very practical. I think that's
Yeah.
what makes the show feel really fresh and great.
Yeah.
Is that the practicality of it in its special effects and like set design and like everything they're doing. I think it makes it feel lived in and fleshy.
Yeah.
Very fleshy.
I think I'm understanding now what you mean by fleshy. I think last time I was asked this question, I'm like, how much skin do we see? And I was like, we see quite a bit of skin.
We do see. I mean, that's a pretty fleshy.
I mean, people.
pilot.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
episode
Agatha's
one.
pretty
And
fleshy.
episode one
But now
feels-
I think how much meat is on the bone, just in terms of substance on the
Yeah.
show. And I will say right now, I'm taking a bite into this turkey leg, and I don't know if that bite is like going to be just turkey meat or if it's going to be a lot of gristle and fat. I'm chewing on something, but I
Yeah.
don't know whether I'm going to actually be able to chew it enough
Yeah.
for it to be like protein or if it's just going to be fat.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff I'm chewing on, and it could just be some red herrings with some characters. It could just be a lot of like fluff, and by the time we
Yeah.
get to the end of the series, we're like, why did this character say this at this point in the episode? Why did
Yeah.
they say that? And it's just gonna be like, we were just kind of like casting a wide net.
Yeah.
Keep you guessing.
Shri was asking about this yesterday. We'll hit it for really quickly right now. But Lillia Calderu, she has that moment. She has these predictions. I think it's just going to come back into play throughout the series. Like this season where she's like, gotta save Agatha, right?
Yeah.
I feel like maybe, we've talked about it off screen a lot. Like it's a little like, is she just spouting things? We don't quite know where this is going to end up. But
I think someone is watching them through Lillia. And like that's what those little outbursts she has are.
Yeah.
I think Gotta Save Agatha, and I also think the like weird I love you guys
Yes, yeah.
was like someone is there like trying to like be a part of this or watch them and is living through her. in a
I think
weird way.
she's like unstuck in time. Like
Yeah,
Billy Pilgrim,
yeah, yeah.
Desmond,
Okay. Yeah.
And Lost. Like she is a divination witch, but she's just like, or Wolverine in Days of Future Past.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
kind
All
of
this
living
stuff.
at different points on her own timeline, and
Yeah.
she's like experiencing moments of the future, and she's just kind of flashing ahead. And there's gonna be some other moment later on in this season where like they're all saying we got to save Agatha, and that's gonna like echo back to her past self, and that's why she said it in that moment.
Yeah.
And I love you guys is gonna be a similar thing like that.
Yeah, I like
That's
that
my
a lot. Yeah. I
love
can't wait to
anything
see.
that's like Lost.
The anniversary this year, right? 20 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Bring up the Darkhold one more time, Dashiell. This is obviously a really important part of this series, and this character, and obviously her relation to Wanda. This was such a scary scene with the bassinet, and with it was truly. I wrote it in the script yesterday. Truly chilling scene for a Marvel show. My question is, if you open up this bassinet, you see the Darkhold. How many tiny kisses are you giving it?
I think like 2. Just like 2.
Yeah, 2.
There. And a pat on the head.
And stop crying.
Yeah.
How about 1 per page?
Ooh, so many pages.
Well, look, it could be like a pop-up book or a coloring book, or a kid's book. Sometimes there's like if it's like Goodnight Moon or Sea Spot Run, that's only like 8 pages in total. So that's like 8 tiny kisses.
8 tiny kisses. Yeah,
only
sure.
8 pages in the Darkhold?
1 for each school of magic.
That was thick pages when she flipped it open. It didn't look like it was.
It's like the Marauders map where maybe it folds out more.
It was like thick. Yeah, it was like they stick together and they wad into 1 page. It's not like a page turner the way
I mean, Wanda was out in the mountains reading it for weeks on end. What's taking her so long?
It's really tiny text, and you got to turn it. It's like leaves of grass.
Can Wanda not read? Wanda, the new Lea Michele of the universe.
Oh no!
Can we get just like a Wanda like?
Yeah,
that meme of Lea
Michele. Well, I can't wait to keep talking about the series with you guys. Can't wait to hear everybody's thoughts as this goes on. Truly one of the most puzzle boxy shows we've had from Marvel specifically in a very, very long time. Follow the Breakroom on all platforms everywhere. Even if you think the Breakroom is not on that platform, it's on that platform. Just kidding. It's not.
Okay.
Follow us on YouTube. Yeah, I know. As soon as I said it. YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. Catch us next week as we continue talking about more stuff in all the nerdy IP you love. Thanks for watching. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.